Our current board members are Nick Sasakis, we'll be right back. Brian Smith is out of town. Jordan Eisen. Do you want to just put your hands up and say you're Jordan Eisen? Karen Redmond. Lynette Doherty. Victor Singh. George Fortunas. Sandy Nickel. And our 4 counselors are on our board, including, you were the next to be mentioned, Mary Margaret McMahon. Put up your hand. And I'll take this moment to welcome you because I didn't get to welcome you a few minutes ago. You weren't here. But thank you very much for coming. Mary is one of our new elected counselors. We're delighted to see her. Mary Fragadakis, a counselor. Counselor Paula Fletcher. Counselor Gianna Davis. And Sarah Julia.
And in the interest of moving the meeting along, I'm just going to speak on behalf of my colleagues. As Pat said, we're councillors are members of the board of all BIAs, so we look forward. We have been active participants since the BIA was formed, and we look forward to continuing on to support the work of our local BIA.
I do about 90% of the BI in Toronto. Again, each year they have to appoint. They have a choice to appoint any auditor they like. Okay? For last year, I was appointed to the BI auditor for 1-year term. That's for 2009.
Current auditor brags that he does the audits for 90% of all of the BIAs throughout the entire city. And, of course, he really doesn't have much of a job to do because, as the bylaw states, he doesn't have to verify the authenticity of any purchases unless they exceed $7,500. And there are far from any, if but few, purchases that exceed that limit. So in order for him to do his job, it's just a matter of accepting about 99% of whatever comes across his desk as fact. Nobody's watching the chicken house.
Okay, when you were auditing, did you check that city policies and codes have been adhered to in terms of procurement policies and all that?
Yes, it's part of the audit. And by the way, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention one thing. I'm required to, in addition to reporting to the members, I'm required to report to City Council as well. So these statements go to Audit Committee and then go to City Council. And yes, by law, I'm required to verify all the major expenditures are followed by the city bylaw. All the expenditures are in fact. But I selected test basis, but overall, yes, they were.
And then you didn't find it?
No, I didn't. And if I did, it's my responsibility by law to let you know as well as to City Council. There is a city policy on a donor limit. And certain donor limit are required to be minimum 3 courts. And yes, I would. Otherwise, I can't do audit. And I won't be standing there. I will be letting you know. But before I let you know, I will let the City Council know what's happening.
So you find the bids being made?
Yeah, otherwise you won't see the signed copy. It's my life is on there.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to appoint Rafiq Dassani as the auditor for the 2010 financial statements. All in favor? Defeated? Okay, the second motion is to appoint Field LLP. I'll open up the floor to discussion.
I'd like to ask a question. How is that business? How has that business come to your attention?
Look, Nick
We don't know anything about this business.
Nick Sasakis, I understand after many personal conversations with you, you're well acquainted with the Greek community of Metropolitan Toronto, Hellenic Heritage Foundation.
No association with that community.
Well now you don't. But anyways, I do, and I was recommended. I did make my due diligence and contact, and this was a reputable firm. But I do ask that we have another meeting, when our next public meeting, and recruit somebody else. Okay, we can do a whole search process. I don't understand why we need to stop at one.
Exactly. Okay, the question has been answered. Do you have any more questions about this motion? The motion is on the floor to appoint a different auditor, and I'm sorry, Lisa, the name is not clear in my head, but we have a motion on the floor to appoint this auditor. It has been seconded. I'm going to ask for a show of blue voting cards for people who would like to appoint the auditor that was suggested by Lisa Christos.
I want to go home. Okay, that motion fails. We'll leave it up to the next board. So this is to vote on the budget as presented by the current Board of Management. Please sit down, Lisa. Please sit down, we need to. So all those in favor of adopting the budget as presented by the current board, please raise your blue voting cards and keep them up, please, so we can get an accurate vote. Okay, thank you. All those opposed, please raise your, sit down please, sit down please. Okay, the vote is 45 to 53, so that motion fails. Okay, we now are moving to the second motion. Which is to decrease the administration budget from $93,550 to $50,000, to increase capital from $10,000 to $90,000, to decrease maintenance from $146,000 to $15,000, and promotions from $103,250 to $0, for a total expenditure of $155,000. Okay, the vote was 54 to 45, that carries.
As you may have noticed, the previous board of directors, led by Pat Silver, has presented a budget of $380,000. That budget has been voted down. A new budget of $155,000 presented by the new incoming board of directors, led by Lisa Katsouris, of $155,000, a much lesser amount, has been approved. Okay, now Councillor Janet Davis steps in. It appears as though the old board of directors has not only had their auditor replaced with the option of now getting a new auditor, also their budget has been voted down. It appears as though they've lost the race. The game is over for them. It's time for a new board of directors. Janet Davis, councillor for Ward 31 in the city of Toronto here, has a solution to the problem. United we stand, divided we fall. We'll be together with our backs against the wall. What she's basically done is made an attempt at eliminating the democratic process. She is now suggesting that we increase the number of board members from 13 to 29 members. In other words, keeping the entire previous board, amalgamating it with the new current board, and becoming one with them. And it just appears to me as though it's a last-ditch effort to save the day, but the day is pretty much over until the vote is in.
Okay, there's a vote. There's a motion to increase the board size to 29. Please sit down. Enza, please sit down. Or not Enza, sorry. Lisa. All those in favor of increasing the board size to 29, that will allow for unity. Raise your cards and keep them up, please. Raise your cards and keep them up, please. That will allow everyone nominated to serve. We have a motion. We have a motion. If you want to get through the election, We're going to get kicked out. That's the problem. Okay, let's call the vote. All those in favor of increasing...
Can you tell us? So fine and
Sir, I'm going to actually call on law enforcement.
Right now, we have no business in the town.
This is out of order.
BIA, whatever they did, I don't doubt their work. But
Can
they
I-
do nothing to improve the business in the area. In fact, it went
Officer,
down.
officer, I'm trying to conduct
How
a
are we
vote
supposed to
here.
pay for it? That's what I want.
Please.
Janet, our question is...
No, it's out of order.
I've got just one question,
No,
Janet.
we're calling the vote.
When we go to the meetings,
We're calling the vote.
when we go to the monthly meetings,
We're calling the
you
vote.
never speak. Now
We're
it's our
calling the
annual
vote.
meeting and we don't have a chance to speak. So when are we going to speak up? That's the only thing we're saying. I went to the last meeting.
Enza, calm down, please.
It's too late now.
Enza.
I've been after them for 4 years.
Do you want it? Okay, the motion fails.
Well, Janet Davis's idea of together we stand, divided we fall, let's put our backs against the wall has failed. Consequently, she attempted to remove the democratic process, and the crowd simply wants nothing to do with it. The whole idea here was to have a vote to vote in a new board of directors, not to share the board of directorship with the old group. They're the folks that got the business folks all upset and rather peeved at the idea that they were spending so much money and getting absolutely nothing for it. Not even a verbal explanation in most cases. So consequently, we're now going to have a vote for the new board of directors, and stay tuned, we'll let you know what's up with it.
Okay, last call for ballots here, please. I'm going to post the results, or we'll get the BIA to post the results on the website. And I'll call.
Well, it appears as though the democratic process has failed again. We have 98 pieces of paper. Everybody's got their votes in. It appears by the 98 pieces of paper and all of the hands shown that the new team has won. But for some reason, Mike Major says we don't have time to count the votes here. We'll have to get to that later. So later we discover via email from City Hall that arbitrarily they have added other members to the board. They have increased the size of the board of directors with members from the previous board, i.e. Pat Silver being one of them. So once again, we see the democratic process being destroyed before our very eyes. Thank you, Janet Davis.